Hello, Tide fans. Welcome to Tide Talk. I'm your host, Sean Taylor. Here with my buddy. He's back again, Jimmy Messick.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, guys.
It was.
Maurice.
Can I call you Herbie or Kirk? Okay, Mr. Herb Street. I kind of predicted that we would be
Herb Street, I guess,
like this, and that I did think Mac Jones at the beginning of the season was going to be as good as. Are we taking? Okay.
Make sure you tell him that that's not the truth.
I'll call you back
to watch the show.
Yeah. Bye. I'm sorry. I didn't realize we were already on.
We're rolling, man.
Wow.
We're rolling. Just like the Tide.
Wow, that is from Columbus to Miami is a very long road trip.
Dude, you went to the game?
No. I just had a long night, but it is a long trip. So anyway, where are we? Yeah, hey.
We're just getting started.
Lights are bright. Yeah, good. Did you catch the game last night?
We did watch that game.
It's good. You? Yes, I did. All, 2 quarters of it, because that was about all there was to it. So, yes, I did.
You did say early on, is there anything else on TV or something like that?
Was The Bachelor on?
Yeah.
I think that would have had more drama than the Alabama-Ohio State game. As a matter of fact, I don't think Ohio State was the best team in the state of Ohio.
Oh.
So Georgia played that team. Anywho.
Interesting thought.
I'll let you have it.
But hey, guys, we're celebrating 18th national championship. Man, what a great season. A lot of things to discuss. Man, so many things to talk about. But we did kind of think that the game would be closer, seeing how you said that.
Well, we did, and I sent y'all a text
right before the game. I will give you
I got proof.
I will tell you right before the game, Jimmy. I know you got the text in the group message.
I did.
And you responded.
Can I change my prediction?
Yes, and the reason was because I saw some. They had a thing on Ohio State and their practices leading up to it, and our practices was laser focused, and theirs was kind of nonchalant. It seemed like their attitude, and I'm like, this isn't going to be close. And then the 3 players came out that weren't going to play the kicker, defensive end, and DB. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a long night for somebody at DB. Trying to cover somebody.
Jimmy.
So, what?
I mean, again, we talked, and we thought, man, it's going to be a pretty close game.
We did.
And then when the game started, did you have the same feeling at that moment? But right even before kickoff. I mean, I will give him credit. Before kickoff, he's like, "This is going to be a blowout."
So, let me first. I was going to do something first.
All right.
I want to thank Alex Leatherwood, Brandon Dickerson, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, Dylan Moses, and Surtain for coming back.
Yeah.
And all the other players that had a chance to leave or for whatever reasons they wanted to leave, because without that group coming back, showing the leadership they showed throughout the entire year, who knows if we're having this conversation about winning another one. So first thing I wanted to do. But back to your question or point. So when I thought the game was over, when Landon Dickerson walked out on the field as our captain. I mean, that gave me chill bumps, and I'm like, man, that's what this team's about. And I was like, at that point, I'm like, man, we're about to hand it to these guys, and of course we did. So
I didn't get a text saying that he said it was going to be over. I said it.
Maurice, listen, it's something that you've talked about since last year.
Yeah.
You talked about the discipline, the heart, the leadership, the effort, the practices. To comment on what Jimmy said, Landon Dickerson walking out. But hey, not only that, let me back up 30 seconds. Did you see who is leading us out of the tunnel, jogging after 2 weeks from having ACL surgery?
Yeah.
Landon Dickerson.
Yeah.
So, all of that. I mean, Saban says it over and over again about this team, how much he loves this team because they were together. They had each other if they had nothing else.
Right.
And you've been talking about that really for 2 years.
The one thing that if you can write a book a recipe. It can't be done to where you can create or know how to create and put together chemistry. You can't. It just happens. So a self-policing team, as we did, and I think it was Herb Street that said, my buddy, he texted me. He said last night, he said, these players came back for something that was more than for themselves, but for the team. You hardly ever hear that in this day and age, which I understand, and we kind of talked about it last year, players that want to make it to the next level because you can't find a better starting job or job period that pays what it's going to pay in the NFL, maybe the NBA or Major League Baseball, and that's it. So I understand players wanting to get there. These players are completely different.
And Saban made a comment too about when your best players are your leaders, it means a lot.
Listen, guys, man, I just can't tell you how much that resonates with me, because I'll say this. I used to say all the time to my players when I coached. I said all the time, because it's a problem in society, the name on the front has to be more important than the name on the back.
Right.
And they didn't understand that. And this team got it. Mm-hmm. This team understood what that meant. And so many things to discuss about look what happens in the result of that, but they got it. Mm-hmm. I mean, and I know this is really jumping ahead, but man, at the end of the game, when Dickerson goes out there just to take a snap, did you see the guys hugging the dude? I mean, if that is not a sign of respect and leadership.
Dude, for me, that was when he went out there and snapped that ball to end the game. That's, with all the great moments we've had this year, that was probably my moment of the year.
Yeah.
Right there, watching that.
Yeah.
It really was.
I thought at that moment, Deontay, you are such a little, anyway. No, I'm kidding. I mean, that, for him to come out there, what, 3 weeks, 2 weeks after ACL surgery?
Oh,
2.
God. I was talking to my son, you know, Colson is exercise science degree. He's had a couple of knee surgeries, so he kind of gets it. And we're looking at each other when Landon Dickerson's jogging onto the field.
That's right.
And I'm like, he just had ACL surgery less than 3 weeks ago.
Right.
And he's not limping out there.
He's jogging.
That joker's dressed out, jogging.
He went through pre-game warm-ups as if he was going to play.
I mean, and man, again, man, we could talk about that, but it goes back to what you meant last year, what we were missing, and it goes back to what you just said. Those guys had a chance to go to the NFL. Leatherwood, Dickerson, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, all probably get drafted high. I'm not necessarily saying first round, but they get drafted high. But they didn't like how the 2019 season ended.
Right.
They didn't like the taste in their mouth. And did you hear what, I think it was Devontae Smith, what he said last night when they were saying the dynasty's over?
Oh, yeah.
He was like, not so fast, big man.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
And so, gosh, man, again, so much to talk about on this show, and I know they're giving us a little flexibility with time, but man, we hadn't even got into some of the highlights of the game, but I think that's okay. I think it fits, you know, the mood, if you will, for this. What a special national championship! 13-0, you know, 11 SEC games. Man, how special is that? So many records broken. I don't even know that we can keep up with them and name them all.
No.
But we're going to take a quick break. I do want to make sure that we recognize Bob Inglis and State Farm for Tide Talk in the past 3 years. He's been our sponsor. So if you're listening, Tide fans, and you need insurance, if that's your need, give him a call. But yeah, Bob Inglis has been a great sponsor for us. So let's take a quick break. Hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Thanks, Bob.
Bob.
All right, Bob.
Enjoy the good times a little more with the right plan. As your State Farm agent, I am here to help you protect your dreams and loved ones with life insurance. With over 60 years combined State Farm experience, call me or any of my team to find out which options are best for you. Another way, we're here to help life go right.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans.
No.
Do you have another call? Is that Herb Street?
Hey, well,
or is that Bob?
I don't like that.
Or is that Bob?
Could be Bob.
Could be Bob.
Could be Bob.
Bob does home.
Does he do auto?
Does he do auto?
Does he do car?
I think. Is it?
No, he does buses. Yes. Yes, he does them all. Thank you, Bob.
Again, thanks, Bob, for being a great sponsor for Tide Talk. Jimmy.
Yes.
First show of the year this year.
That was last week.
Somebody said, man, Mac Jones
is that when you and I were talking about how good Mac Jones was going to be this year?
Yeah, I think that's how it went.
We thought we had a chance to win.
And I don't know, somebody else on the show, somebody that went to the game, long drive from Miami,
was still bitter. Was still bitter from last year.
Right.
I'm sitting right here.
Oh, sorry, Maurice.
Anyway, he didn't win the Heisman. I told you he wouldn't. So I was right.
Got to be right.
So have we said enough about the guy?
Listen,
I mean, what else can we
say?
I mean, what else can we say?
Any more about Mac Jones? I mean, we were just saying.
Yes, I can.
Let's hear it.
I think he ought to come back. I don't think he looks as fluid, because if you think I'm just making stuff up, tell me you didn't hold your breath. The 2 or 3 times that he ran it, and he did get hurt when the guy landed, he's just awkward when he runs. It's like, brother, you're good behind the line of scrimmage. When you cross the line of scrimmage, you got to learn to slide.
Listen, I agree with you. Listen, every one of us recognize, as far as, how he looks unathletic at times when he's trying to slide or whatever.
Have you ever watched Tom Brady try to run, by the way?
But my point
I'm not saying
is,
he's Tom Brady, but have you ever watched that?
Is that a reason to come back?
Yeah,
you've won the Davy O'Brien. Yeah. You've won the national championship.
I can give you a reason.
You've
got your master's degree.
Every record. You've got your master's degree. You've broken just about every record at Alabama.
Well, the guy at Memphis is going for his doctorate, the one that won one of the awards. So there's no shortage of degrees. The reason I would, other than that, as far as I think there's some he can improve.
Hey, tell you what, I know where this is coming from.
It's a top-heavy quarterback draft. There are so many. This reminds me somewhat of 1983, the number of quality quarterbacks that are going to be taken in the first round. I think it's going to push him down a little bit.
Valid point.
So was it last year where we had a show? It felt like the whole entire show he was bitter about all the guys that were leaving.
I was. It wasn't
I think that's where this is coming from.
No.
Well, Mac needs to go.
You wanted them to go, and I was mad because they didn't accomplish one thing.
Let me tell you, Maurice,
except for
that is a valid point. Where will his draft status fall? That's a valid point.
I think it will go down as they do a lot of the pro days and a lot of if he gets invited to the combine, which he probably will. Because I don't know how fast he is overall. He's got a good arm, and he looks great in the pocket. But what I'm saying is, as far as what they look for, or what they're going to judge him on, I think is going to be somewhat of a detriment to him. I think he falls a little bit. And in my opinion, if you're 20 or below, come back.
But so do you? Man, he wasn't
That's
even.
A lot of money.
He was an undrafted guy going into this season. And now they're talking about him being in the first round. Do you really think he needs to take a chance of coming back and maybe not having as good a year? Obviously, the weapons aren't going to be the same. The lines may not be the same.
Well, that was.
What if he comes back and has a mediocre type season? Now he's gone from a first round. Now they're like,
that was going to be my next point, Maurice. Let's look at this past season. Devontae Smith announces he's coming back.
Yes.
Najee Harris announces he's coming back. Alex Leatherwood announces he's coming back. Dylan Moses announces he's coming back. Man, that's 4 critical components to both offense and defense. What happens if Waddle returns?
Right.
What happens if Chris Owens returns?
Yes.
What happens if Brian Robinson returns?
Well, I think we're good at running back. I mean,
yeah, we are, but listen, he's the next guy up.
Sure.
I mean, did you see him carrying the ball the other night? As we discussed before the show, the Joker, who wants to get in front of him and tackle
I saw
him?
him carrying the ball and some Buckeyes.
Yes. I mean, so I think that would play a part, to be honest.
Yes.
I think that would play a part.
Right.
You know, if Waddle leaves and Owens leaves and some other key components leave, and not to mention we haven't even discussed who's the offensive coordinator. I mean, that's a huge part in what
that
happens.
that would be the first reason why I would probably leave, because I don't know who that's going to be.
Because Saban's going to hire an idiot.
And I don't believe that. I agree with that.
Did you see this though? I think it's I don't know what the word I'm looking for, poetic or whatever you want to call it. But did you see where Bryce Young was trying to hand the football to Mac last night at the end of the game, and Mac says, "No, you keep it."
I did not see that.
So is that like, okay? Is that him passing the torch?
I mean, I know what your take is on that. That's another segment. Hang tight on that.
I didn't realize that Mac was in charge of naming starters for next year. But go ahead.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So I think there's so many factors. I think the offensive coordinator is going to be a critical component to a lot of what happens with respect to our offensive guys. I really do. You know, listen, Waddle potentially can come back, especially if he knows that there's a Sarkisian type. And no, everyone, I'm not suggesting that there is another Sarkisian. What I'm suggesting is someone that recognizes the talent and does what Sarkisian did with respect to getting those people the ball.
Right.
I think that's important, because if I'm Waddle,
well, Waddle I think is gone. Case in point, they said before the game that it was going to come down to Waddle and his family.
Yeah.
Depending on how we felt, whether or not he played. That's an investment conversation, meaning I don't want you to hurt yourself because you're going pro in a few months.
Which, by the way, let's talk about this real quick. There's some controversy out there criticizing Nick Saban for allowing him to play and that sort of thing. And make sure that I want to say this.
Was it Auburn people?
There's some commentators, some sports analysts, some critics that are saying that. And here's what I'm going to tell you. My understanding is Saban met with the family, met with Waddle and doctors, and let Waddle make the decision. And a buddy of mine, a guy that I reference often, Keith Jones, that works with me, he made a very good point. He said, these are the same people that earlier in the year are saying that these guys ought to get paid. You know, well, are you saying that this guy can't make a decision on whether he plays or not?
Mm-hmm. Huh.
You know, he said, hey, I want to play. I feel fine. I'm not 100%, but I want to play.
If it was only, which we don't know, but I'm assuming from what they were saying, is that it was just the break in the bone.
The cuts and the...
Well, and so as we were talking beforehand, it's just the muscles that have to basically recuperate and rehab and so forth. So there's no... when a bone heals, it's healed. And not to mention you got screws in there.
Yeah.
Just, I know.
A little more extra support.
It's not going anywhere. It just hurts until you've
strengthen the muscles around it. Yeah.
So there's no danger. So anybody that's sitting there talking about it, and you can say, well, what do you know about it? Because I got 2 screws in my ankle. I know about it. So once that decision was made, the doctor said, oh, yeah, he can, if he wants to, if he can, sure.
Well, again, as we stated before the show took off, man, there's so much to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, we
ain't even talked about the game yet. I thought we were going to talk about records, and now we're talking about
talked about Smitty,
injuries and people
and
coming back,
Najee Harris,
and we ain't said nothing
and
about
all
the
of
game.
those things. I mean, there's so much to talk about.
Hold on, Tide fans. We're going to get to the game in a minute.
We are going to get to that, and hopefully you're going to see some really good highlights. We got a fantastic crew here at Beam. You're going to see some fantastic highlights, but we will take another quick break. On behalf of Bob English and State Farm, we'll be right back with Tide Talk.
In life, some things just go together, like a burger and fries, and home and auto insurance from State Farm. So make it a combo. Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? Just call me, Bob English, or any of my experienced hometown team and find out how you could start saving today. It's just another way.
Okay, Tide fans, back to Tide Talk. Again, a lot of things to talk about. Jimmy, Devontae Smith, is he the best receiver that's ever been in Alabama?
If you look at statistics, yes. You look at what he did this year. Again, I think we're going to talk about awards and how long that list is. It's hard to keep up with it. Yes, you could argue that he's the greatest receiver to ever put the jersey on for Alabama.
Maurice, before the year started,
yes,
did you think that we would be having this conversation about Devontae Smith?
As far as him
being considered one of the best in Alabama history.
He's very good. When you say, and I posed a question to y'all, and no Alabama fan really wants to admit it. Is he better than Julio? I mean, that's an incredible talent. And then you got Ozzie Newsome, and you got Harry Gilmer. Is he better than all those? He's pretty special. So he's definitely in the top 2 or 3 conversation.
Well, I'll tell you this. We probably didn't talk about that or talk about him in the first of the season because we were too busy talking about Waddle. Because we thought Waddle was going to be the number 1 guy and Smitty was going to be the number 2 guy. So
let me ask you this. All right, everybody's got the finger out.
Yeah.
If Waddle doesn't get hurt, does Smitty have the year that he does?
No, and Mac Jones wins the Heisman.
Yes. If you guys will remember, I said it when Waddle first got injured. Do you remember the stat when Waddle first went out that I gave you guys? That at that time, the targets, Smitty had 30 more targets than Waddle at that point.
Yeah.
So,
I don't remember you talking about that, but go ahead.
Wow.
Chris, make sure we go back so we can.
I'll get that knife out of your back.
But I will tell you, I do believe Smitty still would have the year that he had. Now, his numbers may not be the same because they would have been spread out a little bit more because of Waddle. He's an extreme talent. But I do believe, we were talking before the show. Listen, I love the guy's nickname, the Slim Reaper. Mm-hmm. I mean, the pass play that we talked about where he's on the linebacker, or the linebacker's supposed to be on him for the touchdown, I mean, it doesn't even look like he's running. It's like he's jogging.
Because look who's chasing him.
And he's just really smooth. So, yeah, man, is he the best that's ever come out of Alabama? Gosh, that's hard to say. I mean, Amari Cooper, Julio Jones, go back to DJ Hall back in the day. Like you said, Ozzie Newsome. Yeah. That's, going way back. But
I mean, the only way to do it is look at the numbers.
But I'll tell you this.
And how about this?
But I'll tell you this. With respect to the numbers, yes, he's the best to ever play at Alabama. Now, the numbers are a little different because back when Ozzie Newsome played, we ran the wishbone and, we were running the ball 40 times.
Right.
Could Ozzie Newsome have had these types of numbers? Who knows?
And let me say this. I thought about this today too. Because I figured we were going to be talking about, again, records and individual accomplishments.
Accomplishments.
There you go. Anyway.
Woodland Christian, right?
Yeah. So Hooper. No, anyway. Look, dude, we played 13 games this year. And a lot of these records are set, like last year, with 15 games, 14 games.
Very good point. Right. Very good point.
Imagine if...
Very good point. And all SEC.
Imagine if the guys we've talked about all year long, Devontae, Mac, and Najee, had 2 more games.
And against Middle Tennessee.
Throw a couple of cupcakes in there.
Can I be honest?
Please be honest.
Because I've been lying the whole time. If Waddle didn't get hurt, the conversation would have been about Waddle for Heisman, in my opinion. Because he was a punt returner, kick returner, and a heck of a wide
the all-around guy.
He was somebody that you couldn't take your eyes off of. And no offense to Smitty, because Smitty was great, is great as a receiver, but he wasn't returning punts, not until Waddle got hurt. So Waddle was that electric and still is.
I think we could talk about a lot about the offense. We said it from the very beginning of the year. It wasn't our offense. You said before the championship game, it ain't going to be our offense if we get beat. It ain't going to be because of offense. It was going to be because of defense. Najee Harris, phenomenal year. You know, man, you got to even consider him up there with Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry won the Heisman. You know, Najee Harris very well could have had a chance to win the Heisman had it not been for Devontae Smith and Mac Jones. I mean, you know, so, man, maybe the best offense. You know, they were comparing it to LSU from last year, which had a phenomenal year with 15 games. You know, so, man, again, we could do an entire show on the offense. But I want to go to the defense. Cool. I want to make sure that we do bring up the point that Sheriff Taylor, let's make sure we recognize him because he was off the chain a little bit last night.
I didn't notice.
2 weeks ago, I guess prior to the SEC championship game, apparently Alex Leatherwood and Barmore had a little altercation. And Alex Leatherwood, in essence, got in his rear end and said, you know what, your name's never going to be on that wall if you don't step it up. Can we say that anybody stepped it up in the last 2 games, Notre Dame and Ohio State, more than Barmore?
Like I said, his stock is increasing more than Tesla by the second.
But Maurice, it goes back to what
self-policing
you said 2 years ago.
Yes.
Guys holding guys accountable.
A'Shawn Robinson, Jonathan Allen, Jared Reed.
I remember A'Shawn Robinson saying on camera, hey, man, I'm the alpha dog.
Yes. It goes through me.
It goes through me.
And you want to challenge it? And that's when they sent Tony Brown home from the championship practice.
Yeah.
Said, this ain't cutting it. You're out of here. And he came back the next year with a different attitude. But it's because of leadership like that you can't emulate.
You can't say enough, Jimmy, about the role of those guys, the guys we mentioned at the beginning of the show, the guys you pointed out, the leadership role, Dylan Moses. Man, he didn't have a great statistical year.
Right.
But, man, what a leader he was on that football field for our defense.
Yes. So, speaking of the defense, you know, again, we've always talked about the offense, obviously, I mean, for obvious reasons. But, man, you know, that defense really played, I mean, minus a couple of games, pretty good. I mean, I think I sent out a text that we held 11 of our 13 opponents under their average score. I know we've given Golden a hard time. Well, some of us have. I really thought he got better as the year went on, but
yeah, because the mistakes last night weren't golden.
Man, you can't say enough about the job they did last night against a good Ohio State football team. We've always struggled against true dual threat quarterbacks.
I don't think it was as much that as my complaint was the unorganization and
the uncertainty that it.
We had one play where we had 10 players out there because we're telling the other one to come on.
However,
and we stopped them for a loss.
However, I will say, I do have to give some of that to, you know, our DB leader, Battle, had, you know, gotten ejected from the game on the targeting call. Right. So that makes a difference because now the person on the back end, Dylan Moses is calling the front end in the front seven. The guy on the back end, you know, that's a little different. Yeah, that's right. Next man, but hey.
But I'm gonna, you know, if I have to call your brother in here, I will, because he's right. When you're in a goal line situation in the red zone, if they're not substituting, they're gonna probably run hurry up offense, and you better get lined up. You ought to have your standard calls where the defense knows in this formation we're doing this, this formation we're doing this. It ought to be preset. Instead of looking over at the sideline, what we do? Well, you're looking, they're snapping the ball. So, I'm sorry.
When's your last DC job?
Did we win? Did we win last night? I don't know.
All I'm saying is, I wouldn't have got caught. I would have had that prepared.
We killed them to 24 points and they averaged 40.
And here's what I'm going to tell you.
We won a game.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. I mean, I don't know. Out of the three of us, I have been on the field.
Yes.
I have
coaching.
I mean, I have been on the field coaching, and it's much easier sitting at home watching because guess what? Ain't no pressure on me.
Right, I get it.
I mean, so I hear you, and I'm not disagreeing with you and or Sheriff Taylor with respect to there's got to be a standard and then you make an adjustment. But I'll tell you that at the end of the day, we held Ohio State, who just put 48 on Clemson 10 days ago. We held them to 24, and I'll be honest, one of those was one we gave to them. The fumble inside the red zone already. We gave it to them.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, Sean.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, as far as you should have preset defenses, how come other teams haven't been caught napping or out of position?
Last time I checked, we were 13-0 and just won a national championship.
I don't know, dude. I can't win with these guys.
We're not going to try to get better. Is that what we're saying?
Can you get better than undefeated and a national championship? I'm just curious.
Okay, all right.
I'm just curious. Can you get better than 13-0 in a national championship?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. But hey, I do hear your point. I do hear your point. Okay. And
I'm calling Heath after this.
I got him on speed dial. I will tell you this. Earlier in the year, yes, we all had some concerns about the defense. We had some concerns about the uncertainty. We had some concerns about the way they look confused and that sort of thing. But I'll just tell you, and this is my opinion, the past few games was way cleaner than the first several games. It was way cleaner.
Well, I think they understood assignments better. But what I'm saying, as far as having players lined up and knowing what you're doing, it's, I won't say unforgivable, but you're calling a player off that's running off, and now you got 10 players.
Well, let me tell you this. Here's what I will say, and this is fact. You can take this to the bank. Most of the time, 99% of the time, it ain't the X's and the O's. It's the Jimmies and the Joes. Prime example. 4th and 1 or 2, they go for it. Barmore wasn't even in his stance.
Right.
And he makes the play.
Yes.
It's not the X's and the O's a lot of times. It's the Jimmies and the Joes.
Okay.
So when the next time we go up against a BA Joe, I'm not going to say that. Yeah, I know this is a good station.
Right, that's right.
But next time we do that and we're not lined up properly or we got the wrong defense, I'm just saying.
Hey, here's the deal.
And I got a foot.
And this is to Sheriff Taylor as well. When it beats us, then you can tell me about it.
Oh, I got an idea. Why don't we go back to the Kirby Smart days when we had all these dominant defenses? Were we ever in position every single time at every snap?
Certainly not.
Was there some confusion back when Kirby Smart was there? Pruitt. I mean, I'm asking the question. Maybe our stats guy can go back and look at how many times we wasn't lined up back in those days.
Here's what we are going to say to end this show. 13-0, 18th national championship.
I got no problem with that.
And there's a lot to be happy about in Tuscaloosa.
To be clear, Jimmy and Sean don't want to have spring practice. We're just going to take about 6 or 7 months off and regroup in August.
Hey, it worked out for us this year.
Hey, everybody else did too. You know, totally understand. I saw Saban's thing. He said, if we have a spring practice. Look, we just had a season. Why wouldn't we have a spring practice?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? Yeah. Tide fans, man, what a great year. I'm so happy that you guys have joined us all year long. You can check us out on Channel 207 and check us out on your YouTube. If you like the show, go and like us on YouTube. Go and like us on Facebook. We'll be sharing the episode and the show on Facebook and YouTube. And just check us out. And hopefully you guys like us enough that they'll bring us back again next year. But until then, 18 national championships. We'll be getting ready to try to do another one again in 2021-22. And we'll look forward to seeing you again next year. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, Tides fans.
Roll Tide.